Hello and welcome to Pickle TV. I'm your host, Gary Leland. Now, if you found our show on Facebook, YouTube, or another video sharing site, please check out my website at pickle.tv. Not pickletv.com, pickle.tv. It's the home of Pickle TV and the place to find all the videos that I'm going to record from all the conferences I'm going to attend. Now, if you like the concept of getting to see these tech video conferences free of charge, well, help me out and tell your friends about Pickle TV. Maybe post on Facebook or something. Now, in this episode, I'm bringing you a pair of speakers. First time I'm doing a pair from the Emerging Tech Conference that was held in Dallas, Texas in June of 2012. If you're not familiar with this conference, you really should check out their website at etcdallas.com. Now, in this episode, I'm going to bring you Robert Riggs and Chris Westfield as they do their session. Now, Robert has received awards for broadcast journalism, including the George Foster Peabody Award for Investigative Reporting, and also 3 Alfred I. duPont Columbia University Journalism Awards for Investigative Reporting. He's crossed the digital divide from traditional media to new media as an online communications advisor on internet strategies and media. Riggs is a new media video consultant and producer. Now, the other speaker in this session, Chris Westfall, now he's the National Elevator Pitch Champion, an author, entrepreneur, and professional speaker working with top-tier corporate clients and colleges. He's an award-winning MBA instructor at the Business Leadership Center at SMU. He's a past winner of the Communicator of the Year Award at the top-rated MBA program for developing strong business communication skills. He's a featured keynote speaker at Hewlett Packard, where he helps international sales executives with advanced leadership strategies. Their session is titled, "Is Your Story Internet Ready?" Okay, let's watch it now.
Good afternoon. For 27 years, I was the guide in what Sean Jackson described earlier as the monomyth. And I was in the business of bringing people and eyeballs to this every evening. And the problem with this was that we were shoving stuff down people's throat. We were interrupting them, and it was all about, buy my product, buy my service, look at me. And I left in 2008 to go join Tony Wright at Wright IMC and work with him. But what we found in television is that the audience is just hemorrhaging. And if the advertisers really knew the truth about time shifting, that whole model would blow up, and it has been blowing up. But what I began to find, what really works online is content marketing. You know, how do you get people to your content? And we really apply a lot of journalistic practices to doing that. And it's all about telling a story, and a great story, a good story. There is no social media, there is no SEO without good content. And what I know as a journalist and what I see online is people are hungry for stories, especially universal stories. If you're going to go out and pitch Discovery Channel to do something, they want a series that touches a universal theme that's translatable across the globe. So you need a story that entices, that enchants, entertains, educates, and most importantly, evokes emotions. This is why I like television. You can really work people's emotions, and we do it by our writing. We use natural sound, and we actually know how to use lenses to evoke certain types of emotions. Now then, if you look at stories like this, you can see the power of them. We love to talk about a great story. You know, we love to tell stories around water coolers. And if we kind of listen to what people are talking about, you know, did you ever want a flying car? Well, we'd find out maybe GM needs to build a flying car. There are a lot of people that want it. The nature of storytelling is in our DNA. It's part of what we are. It's part of our being. This may be the original infographic right here in France. Now, if you don't think the power of storytelling is important to what you're doing, the agency that brought us the stealth fighter and many other top secret applications is now investigating storytelling. Last October, DARPA issued a request for in-depth research on how storytelling affects neurobiology, and they want to use it in a security context and a whole wide range of other uses. But look, if DARPA is interested in this, you as a content marketer certainly should be. And I can tell you as a journalist, what we do in our studies back in broadcast is that narrative writing is much, much more powerful when you really tell a compelling story. People are less likely to tune out or click off. Well, it all starts with a plot. Are you going to go drama or comedy? You know, the Greeks were the masters of the drama, and then Shakespeare perfected it. And it's a 3-act play. You start presenting the problem, what's the complication, and then you resolve the conflict. You can have a protagonist, good, it's good versus evil. And who wants to be on the side of evil? You know, you want to put your customer, your potential customer, on the side of good. And Ian Lurie of Portent out of Seattle has a great way of describing this. He talks about slay the monster, take their stuff, and tell the tale. What Ian's really talking about, and it's a great, this was my approach to investigative reporting, that I wanted to give my viewers a monster to slay. You want to give your customers a monster to slay. You want to tell a story and put your customers or your audience or your viewers inside it. You want to make them part of the story so that they relate. And then referral is a past customer. Tell the story of how you help slay their monster, of sharing that story. And that's the way they indoctrinate other people for you. Or you can go humor. This is the toughest thing to do. There's no in-between on humor. You either succeed to your wildest dreams or it's a miserable failure. This is the hardest thing to do. An example of it well done recently, you've seen the Dollar Shave Club. Now what I found interesting about this video, it's only 7 scenes, but if you dissect it, they really knew what they were doing, and I think probably what they did is what all of you should do if you're going to, particularly if you're going to attack a video, is a storyboard. This is something that Tony and I did for an animated feature for Max Speech. Tony's laughing. But you got to lay it out, and you got to kind of let it percolate and see, does this work? Is there really a good story here? And then you know how to approach it in telling the story. Now, a tip to you. As a journalist, and I see this online, I always use a person as the vehicle for telling the story, so you've got something to relate to. And I always found it, we always found in television, and I see it online as well, is if you add an animal to the story, or the story becomes about an animal, oh wow, it's something. And we always knew it worked in television. You always wondered, why is that working? Why is that? Well, after being involved in Iraq and started following veterans issues, and the Pentagon did a study on the use of therapy dogs. And in short, what they found out was that the contact with an animal releases a brain chemical that is a natural, soothing, contented feeling, and that you trust. It builds up a feeling of trust. And they just happened to show just pictures of people who were animals to the subjects. And they found out that those same feelings were conveyed on the people shown with the animals. So I ran into the Snell brothers. If you ever hear them speak, they're fantastic. They've got a gun dog supply website of all things. This is a $19 million a year website. They never touch a product. But here's what they found. When they started adding pictures of themselves with animals and animals around their products, the conversion rate went up 30%. All right, so where do you find this stuff? What's the fodder for your stories? Well, we talked about, in journalism was always cover your beat. In the internet, it's know your niche. And know them, know your audience, and super serve them. You got to get out and talk to people. So whether it's inside your own company or out with your clients, you want to seek out the ideas, trends, questions, and look at the visuals that will support it. And then the most important, you want to break news. if you have any chance of going viral, you want to break news. And in news, it was all of us a competition to get that lead story. And how would we get it? Well, I've got a family of surfers in my house, and we always kind of looked at it back then as, we got to catch the wave of what's coming of interest before the rest of the world really realizes it. So, we paddle out and we look for the swell, or online you want to see what's that trend, what's that coming trend. There are many tools you can do this, but a lot of this too is just common sense. And it's all about timing. You want to catch that wave before it breaks, and if you do, you can ride that thing all the way to going viral. And here's an example of how that can happen. And I like to stress, in journalism we said don't bury the lead. Magnetic headlines, that's what Sean talked about earlier. Here's a great example, and if you need to go to SEO Moz and read this post, because this is a great case study on how to use content marketing as something to go viral. Here, Ruin, a great power word. Power words are really important in these headlines that you use. So, the guys at WordStream were trying to come up with an idea of a blog, and they saw the Facebook IPO coming, so they created a very informative infographic comparing Facebook to Google, and they put it out 3 days before the IPO. And here was the headline they used in their press release and their original blog post. New research compares Facebook advertising to Google. Who cares? What's that? They started getting traction on blogs, and then they noticed that GM was canceling their advertising with Facebook, and they pivoted. And now they put out, does Facebook advertising work? And they connected to that, and by the time it was over, 10 million people read their stuff. They were on Fox News, everything. And I had a client in this debacle, and I really do believe they had a big impact on that IPO. That is the power of content marketing there. And they had a good strategy, but you can see the power of the headline. If anybody's going to read your stuff, they got to trust you. In the old days of journalism, this guy was the most trusted man in America. And when he went to Vietnam in 1968 and declared the war was lost, the president later went on the air nationally and told the nation he was not going to run for re-election. That just had been the killer moment. So how do you get to that? You don't get there this way. The internet hates phones. They hate presenters. One of the problems with news these days on television is it's full of presenters, but there are not people there that really know their beat. Now we can see the success of being of knowledge and depth with a guy like Brian Clark. He is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of content marketing. When I first left journalism, I met Brian, he's a fellow Aggie, and he sat me down and he said, Robert, I want to purge from your mind everything you've learned the last years about interruption advertising and advertising things. It's about the content. We also what Brian has done. Here's another friend of mine, Marty Duncan. Marty knows parties. Marty became an authority on how do you put on a party on a budget that looks just great, whether it's your child's birthday party, dinner party, or whatever. And she grew such a following and became such an authority and was known for being so real. She's now on the Food Network on their competition for food stars and may get a show out of the deal. So, as you approach content marketing, above all else, tell great stories. And that's me, where you can find me. I also work with Rod Adamsey, with Tony Wright. Our presentation here has not been about all the tools. There are many tools, but I do want you to know that I have found that SEO, the data you can pull out of that, is pretty incredible of how it can inspire what the story needs to be. And you can do some of the same stuff with social media. It's not about just kind of sitting down and throwing ideas against the wall. So, Chris Westfall is going to talk with you now, because he's going to kind of jumpstart you, because I find that one of the most difficult things if you're talking with a client is about drilling down into how do I tell you in one or two sentences, what's my story? What's the story of my product or service? How do I do that? And that is, trying to get that nugget is one of the hardest things to do. But I'm going to give it to Chris now, then we'll answer questions afterwards. Hey, while he looks up, I'll take some questions now if anybody's got any.
Yeah, I have a quick question. In regard to video versus text and articles and things like that, can you give me some insight into the ratio? Like at a company, like in my business, I write a blog, but I do very little video.
Mm-hmm.
And how important are each?
Well, I think you need to think about your audience. Where are they? What kind of will move them? And what part of your story can you tell better in the video? I mean, it might be a how-to video. It might be a testimonial or something like that. Okay, Chris Westfall.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Chris Westfall. You never know what might happen when you hear someone tell their story. And that's exactly what happened to me when I met a gentleman by the name of Jeffrey Hazlett. Jeffrey Hazlett is the former chief marketing officer of Kodak Corporation. He led Kodak from the paper age into the digital age. Not the digital age into the bankruptcy age, that was somebody else. Jeffrey Hazlett came to Dallas and I heard him speak, and he talked about a concept that he had put forward in his book, The Mirror Test, about the new elevator pitch. The new elevator pitch. Jeffrey Hazlett said that the new elevator pitch is a message that you can convey in 118 seconds, about the length of an average elevator ride in New York City. And of course, a traditional elevator pitch is an introduction of a person, a product, or an idea. So he said the new elevator pitch is 118 seconds long, and I saw a tweet come across on my Twitter account that he was looking for the person with the best new elevator pitch in the country. I was doing work with MBA students at Texas Christian University, helping them with a number of different things, including their elevator pitches, and I said, well, why don't I try my hand at this? So I went out on my front porch, I turned around the video camera, and 118 seconds later, I entered the contest. I had to gain votes on social media as part of the program, and I did, and when the voting was all done, I came in second place in the United States for votes in the 118 elevator pitch contest. But Jeffrey Hazlett and his team of experts said, second in the voting, but first with us, you're the grand prize winner and the National Elevator Pitch Champion. Now, as the National Elevator Pitch Champion, I help people to reach their most important person with a powerful and compelling and authentic message. So do me a favor and think for just 1 second of the most important person in your life right now. Now, typically when I ask a group this question, they think of their family members, their loved ones. But what about the people that are most important in your business, in your online presence? What would it mean to you to be able to persuade your most important person? What would it mean to you to have command, control, and confidence over your personal story, whether you tweet it or tell it? That is the power behind the new elevator pitch. And today I'll talk with you and share with you and dovetail into Robert's remarks about how you can create a story that is authentic, that's real, that's compelling, and that's concise. You know, if you think about it, if you want to be heard above the likes, the tweets, the pokes, and the pins, you've got to have a message that's strong or it's lost. If you don't have a powerful story, it's lost in the noise. So, some secrets today on how to deliver the story of you. And the first secret of the new elevator pitch is that the new elevator pitch isn't a pitch at all. In fact, if you think you're going to pitch somebody on a product, an idea, or a solution that you have online or in person, you're making a mistake. The new elevator pitch is a conversation. A conversation. So as you think about your most important person, let's talk about some ways that we can create that conversation, because the traditional elevator platform has been replaced with the social platform. And that's no secret either. But let me tell you what makes a great elevator pitch, and tell me if this resonates with you. The way that the best elevator pitch is judged is not by the sound of your vowels or your crisp consonants or your great gestures. The best elevator pitch is judged by what your listener does when you are done. The best elevator pitch creates a call to action, something that is compelling. That's the nature of persuasion, right? So the best elevator pitch ends with your listener saying, "Tell me more." Tell me more is the secret to a great elevator pitch, thinking in terms of the outcomes that you would like to create for your listener. The best stories talk about change. The best stories focus on transformation. If you think about your favorite stories, like Star Wars that we talked about earlier today, or even the reason why you watch reality TV, it's all about the transformation. It's all about the change. So as you think about creating a message that's concise, whether you tweet it or tell it, think about the change that you would like to create. Think about what you can do with, through, and for others. When you meet someone for the first time, when they find you online, they find your blog, they find your profile on LinkedIn, the first thing on any person's mind is always why. Simon Sinek wrote a great book called Start With Why. You know it, right? I had the chance to meet Simon Sinek. He's a terrific guy, and I love that book. And it's really true. Everybody starts with why. I have two daughters. The oldest just turned 16. My youngest is 9. And when I say anything to either one of them, the first word out of their mouths, why? Why? So Simon Sinek says, start with why. Let me tell you what the next step is as we go in through the presentation, and I'll show you how to create a compelling answer to that question as part of the secrets of the new elevator pitch. But that's what people want to know online. They want to know why you, why this, and why now. Why you, why this, why now? Those are the questions that you need to answer in your elevator pitch as you focus your message. You see, focus is really important if you want to get down to the heart of your story. In this life, we get what we expect. If we change our expectations, we can change our results. This is called the Pygmalion effect. That's also not a secret. But as you focus your message, it's important to think about the most important person. Typically, when people begin their elevator pitch, they start by talking about I, me, my, the things that I have to offer, the things that I have done, the things that I can do. That is first person, right? Remember from English class, the classic tale of the white whale, Moby Dick? Call me Ishmael are the first three words, and it's written in first person. So that's I, me, my. The other way to communicate is in third person, right? He, she, it, talking about something that's out there, them, that thing over there. It's not very personal. If you want to change your results, if you want to shift your story, put your attention on the subject of the greatest elevator pitch you will ever deliver. The subject of the top elevator pitch is you. The new elevator pitch is the story of you. It's the story of your listener. You see, your accomplishments, your achievements, your solutions don't mean much until you get someone else involved. If you think about it, this building that we're in, the clothes that we wear, the cars that we drive, they all started at the same place. Somebody said, I've got an idea, and somebody else said, tell me more. They all started from that connection. If you think about it, the reason why we have all these different tools to stay in touch is because the human condition right now is about making a human connection. So make the second person first if you want to make your story compelling. The best elevator pitch ends with a call to action where your listener says, tell me more. Tell me more about how I can access you. Tell me more about how I can find out how I can take action. So by reversing your focus and thinking about the outcome that you'd like to create, that's the secret of delivering a great pitch. But don't turn into this guy, right? Have you run into people that, they think that when it comes time to pitch, that they assume attack pattern Delta 9, and they're going to pitch you. They're going to speechify you into submission and squeeze you until money comes out. Don't turn into this cat. I was doing a workshop with a group here in Dallas, and there was a guy in the front row, and his name's Fred, and I said, Fred, stand up. Tell me your elevator pitch. So Fred gets up in front of the group, and he goes, hi, my name's Fred, and I'm the Joe Montana of marketing. I said, wow, Fred, that's quite an opener there. Joe Montana, of course, former Hall of Fame quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. He's in Canton, he's in the Hall of Fame, he's a retired superstar, but right now, what's Joe Montana doing? He's the pitch man for Skechers. So I didn't know if Fred was trying to tell me he was a retired superstar or that he just had really comfortable shoes. My point is, be unexpected in your opening, but don't be gimmicky. If people need ESPN to get you, you're on the wrong track. Authenticity is the key to creating a real message. There's nothing beyond authenticity. There's only truth. There's not truth plus jazz hands. There's not truth plus a sports reference. It's truth. It's your truth. It's your story expressed in terms of what you can do with, through, and for others. So think about it for a second. What's your solution? What's most important in what you offer in a modern context? The original elevator pitch idea comes from the studio days of Hollywood. The idea was that a screenwriter would see a movie executive about to get into an elevator and would proceed to pitch that producer on a screenplay idea before the elevator reached the top floor. From this urban legend, we come to understand this idea of the elevator pitch, but it's in need of a refresh. It's got to be a fresh and modern message for your most important person. And by the way, that most important person has 3 questions on their mind, and I'll explain these 3 questions by means of a story. As you heard in my bio, I do work with the MBA students at a number of different colleges around, but primarily Southern Methodist University, and I was working with an SMU MBA. Now, SMU is the number 12 rated program in the US, and they've got some pretty high-powered students there. So I said to this SMU MBA, hey, hotshot, stand up, give me your elevator pitch. Tell me what it is that you are proudest of. What is your greatest accomplishment? So he stands up and he says, well, I'm very proud of the fact that I got my undergraduate degree in just 3 years. I said, oh, that's very impressive, but guess what? So did I. So let me ask you the first of my 3 questions. The first question, it just has 2 words. The first question is, so what? So what? You graduated college in 3 years. Congratulations, but I mean, so what? How does that get your listener engaged? What are you doing with, through, and for others? This kid looked at me and he said, wow, national champ, why are you harshing on me like that? I mean, he's a millennial, right? So we hugged it out, we played a little World of Warcraft, and we were cool, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I said, give it another try. Step up, give it another try. Tell me what you're proudest of. So he says, all right, let me try again. I am very proud of the fact that I got my undergraduate degree in just 3 years. And I did it not by cutting corners, but by being more efficient and effective with my time. As a result, when I got into the workforce, I was promoted to general manager. I said, congratulations, that's great, but there's a lot of general managers out there. So let me ask you the second of my 3 questions. It has 2 words, here they are. So what? And believe me, these are the questions that your customers and prospects want to know. So this SMU MBA, he says, all right, let me try one more time. I'm very proud of the fact that I got my undergraduate degree in just 3 years. And I did it not by cutting corners, but by being more efficient and effective with my time. And so when I went into the workforce, I was promoted more quickly than my peers, and I was promoted into a general manager role. So now, I help my team to learn the same strategies that I learned in college. I help them to be more effective and efficient with their time. Now, I'm not sure if that's of interest to you here at Burlington Northern Santa Fe, American Airlines, Callaway's Nursery, fill in the blank with your favorite company. But if you'd like to know more, I'd love to get your business card, see if maybe we can grab a cup of coffee sometime and talk about creating similar results for your organization. I didn't need to ask the 3rd question because he had created a message that got me involved. And not like I'm the be-all and the end-all, right? He didn't have to convince me, but he did have to get me because I happen to be the listener. He had to get me engaged in the story, and he did. So, in your elevator pitch, it's all about creating that engagement, and remember those 3 questions that are on your client's mind.
Feels like this microphone is just losing gas. Am I?
Oh, yes? Can you hear me okay out there? Yeah. I feel like I'm just losing a little bit of steam, and it's electronic. So start with your listener. Remember, your listener has 3 questions in addition to so what 3 times. That's why you, why this, why now. And remember what matters most, and that is getting your listener engaged. Making the story about you is when it becomes interesting. Otherwise, it's just a review of your resume, or you're listing the features and benefits of your product, and that is yesterday's news as well. As an elevator pitch guy, I am deeply interested in agreement and compliance. I want to help people get to yes. I want to help people to persuade and influence others. And I heard about a study that was really, really powerful, a study that was done by Helen Langer a few years back. Helen Langer is a Harvard researcher, and she did a study into the nature of agreement and compliance. And it has to do with this idea of starting with why. She wanted to know what is it that could be done to help people to say yes more easily and more readily and more often. And so she and her team of researchers went into libraries a few years back, and there were people standing in line to use the copy machine in the library. And she and her team of researchers went into the libraries and they said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I cut in line? I have to make 5 copies." "Excuse me, do you mind if I cut in line? I have to make 5 copies." Let me ask you, the group, what percentage of the time do you think people said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead, you can make 5 copies"? What percentage of the time? Who said 20? Who said 20?
100%.
100%. We have a Canadian in the back. No? Okay, 100%. Who said 20%? Who was it? I mean, I couldn't see. Somebody around here? Shy group, do you want to tweet it to me?
No, he said 100 twice.
He said 100 twice?
When he said 100, you thought he said 20.
Oh, I did. Oh, got it. Okay. All right. I'll turn on my miracle ear here. What do you think 10%? 10%? What part of New Jersey are you from? No, I'm kidding. I'm just joking around. 10%, so we've got anywhere from 10 to 100%. Would you be surprised? No, the answer actually was kind of in the middle, 60%. 60% of the time, 6 times out of 10, people said yes. So they went back and they said, all right, let's try this one more time. Let's see if we can change the results. And so they went in and same again, back to the libraries, and they said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I cut in line? I have to make 5 copies because I'm in a hurry." "Excuse me, do you mind if I cut in line? I have to make 5 copies because I'm in a hurry." What happened to the results? Down. 100% says down. Even from 10% it says down. In the back, what do you say? You think it went up to 90? You think it went up to 90? So 20 here? All right, this is like an auction all of a sudden. I've been coming to an auction here. Give it before. You said up to 90. You know what? And somebody else here, 90? You're actually on the right track. The number went up. Past 90 to 94%. 94% of the time, people said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead, you can make 5 copies." And the researchers thought, "Wow, we've hit on something." Because is the magic word. Let's test it again, though. We have to see if it really is the magic word. Let's see. Maybe it was because they were in a hurry. Maybe the hurry was the thing. So they went back to the libraries and they said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I cut in line? I have to make 5 copies because I have to make copies." "Excuse me, do you mind if I cut in line? I have to make 5 copies because I have to make copies." What happened to the results? What do you think? Down? You think down, Sherry? How far down? Back to 60? What do you say, TP? 20, even lower, he says. What do you think? 97. 97? You think it went up? Do you like that reason? You think that's a powerful reason?
You made me laugh. So.
Yeah.
It made you laugh. Perhaps it was just the delivery. You know what? You're actually on the right track, but it didn't go up. It didn't go up to 97. It went down to 93. 93% of the time, people said yes. So the researchers said, we are onto something. This offering a reason, even if it's a lame one, even if it's a weak one, is the secret. So let's go back, let's try it one more time. So this time the team of researchers went back and they said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I cut in line? I have to make 20 copies. Because I have to make copies because I'm in a hurry." What do you think happened to the results? They went through the floor. They went way down. You know why? Because the expectations were not realistic. The inconvenience was too much. Because wasn't a magic word if the expectations were unrealistic. Now, sometimes I give this presentation, I tell this story to a group that's filled with young single gentlemen, and they hear this story, and they think about the power of because, and they think they'll go to an eating or drinking establishment, find a beautiful woman, and say to her, "Excuse me, would you like to come home with me? Because." And you see, the point of that I'm trying to make here is realistic expectations. Realistic expectations are the key. Don't go for 20. Go for 5, 4 times, even if you have a weak reason, but you at least give a reason. If you have a because, you create that compelling call to action. So think about your why and think about your because when you think about the story of you. And follow the model that's set up for us by Twitter. Keep it brief, keep it short. Create that tell me more. An elevator pitch at most is a 2-minute presentation. You cannot tell your life story. You cannot tell all the bits and bobs and bites of your business in 2 minutes. Why should you try? Create that tell me more. Create that call to action. That's the key. And the other thing that you want to think of, and I've got to get a prop for this next piece. It won't let loose. All right, I'll just gesture to it. Hey, thank you very much. Wow, that was a lot of work. Thank you, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, what is this? What kind of chair? Did you say cheap? What did you say? Oh my gosh, Sherry. I can't, all right, I'm just kidding. No. What kind of chair? It's an empty chair. An empty chair. If you want to create a compelling message for your listener, you have to think about the empty chair. The empty chair is a metaphor for the person who's going to be impacted by the solution that you propose, the change that you propose, but who's not in the room. The empty chair is reserved for your customer's most important person. It's the person that they are thinking about. The empty chair is reserved for the student in the school district that's going to read the book that's being sold to the school district. The empty chair is reserved for the patient who's going to be impacted by the cancer treatment that's being suggested by the oncologists who are meeting to determine a course of treatment. Think about the empty chair. Why? Because your customer, your client, your most important person is thinking about their most important person. By showing that concern, you create a powerful and compelling story. The best elevator pitch starts not with your story, it starts with what your listener is thinking. It starts with what your listener is thinking. You say, well, how can I know what my listener is thinking if I don't have ESPN or ESP or any of that stuff? I'll show you in just a second how you can create that frame. But you want to consider the empty chair and you want to think about what your listener is thinking about. Okay? Additionally, if you're interested in agreement compliance, getting people to say yes and take the next step, to watch your video, to visit your blog, to buy your product, to convert, whatever it is that matters to you, you must think about how to close in a modern context. How to close in a way that fits for the way that we communicate today. And this idea of always be closing that you've seen a million times in Glengarry Glen Ross. Look, I'm a big Alec Baldwin fan, but the best closing strategies don't come from Hollywood. They come out of a logical extension of the conversation. And the logical extension of your conversation, and the easiest thing to say yes to, is an invitation. An invitation. So what is it that you want to invite others to do? To visit your YouTube channel? To download your software and check it out for 30 days before they buy it? What is that invitation? What is the simplest thing? And it has to be logical. You know, you can say, I'd like to invite you to write me a check for $1 million. Great story. Not realistic. Not realistic. So that's closing Web 2.0 style. Your story has to flow with a tell me more. If you think about the outcome that you'd like to create, if you think about that question, and a way to do that is to consider it for yourself. What's the one thing you'd love somebody to ask? What is that comment you'd love to get on your blog? What is that reply on Twitter that you'd love to have? Work towards that. Think about your listener when you shift and change and focus on making the second person first. That's when your elevator goes to the top floor. So here's the recipe. Keep it simple. Open the conversation in a way that's unexpected. Let people know that you study statistics so that you can defy them. That they may have heard a lot of cliches, but you're here to shatter cliches. You're here to change preconceptions. You're here to create a change that's based on your expertise in some way or another. What is that expertise? Expressed in a way that makes people say, tell me more. If you're interested to learn in specifics, and I just don't have time to go into it right now, but if you're interested in learning more or receiving information about some openings that can be very compelling and that are fresh and modern for the way that we communicate online today, I'll be happy to send you that. You'll see my contact information up here in just a second. You want to talk about your unique accomplishments, your aspirations, your community commitments, the cause that matters to you in a way that answers the question, so what? So what? What can you do with, through, and for others? Consider your why and your because. As we heard earlier, even a weak because can have a success rate as high as 93%. So, start with why, but take the next step and consider because. Think about the empty chair. The empty chair is reserved for your customer's customer. It's the client. It's their most important person, and show that you are focused on what matters to them. Finally, include an invitation. Include an invitation to take the next logical step. In my experience, I have found that when you make a real connection, that's when you can make a real difference. And that real connection isn't about a pitch. It's about a real conversation and engaging people with solutions that are phrased in terms of the outcomes that they want. So, taking my own medicine, let me offer you an invitation to connect with me via all of your favorite social media networks, and also to check out information about my book. It's called The New Elevator Pitch. You can find it at thenewelevatorpitch.com. And also, if you're curious to know how you can get your head in the game in new and more meaningful ways when you have to present in real life, I've created a 1-hour audio file which is free to everyone here in this room today. I call it Presentation Power. It's the tips and tricks that I use to be able to do what I do, the tips and tricks that I've used to help me in winning national contests, and when I've had to get in front of the cameras, and when I've been in difficult situations where I'm getting asked tough questions. These are the strategies that I use, and they've made a difference for me. And I put it in a file, and you can see it here. The short link is there, bit.ly/presentation power. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason I do what I do is because your story matters to me. I am focused on helping you to tell stories. And I am thrilled and proud to be in front of this group with an expert storyteller like Robert Riggs. My name is Chris Westfall. Thank you very much, and we'll take questions at this time. Yes?
I like the video for award-winning speech.
You don't have to. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
And you can find it, it's, of course, on YouTube /Westfall. That's my last name, like the direction and the season online. Westfall online on YouTube. And you can see a number of other videos. And in fact, the book is filled with QR codes, so you can go to videos that illustrate some of the key points and demonstrate how you can deliver a great elevator pitch. Thank you for asking. Yes, in the back of the blue shirt. That's you?
I'm curious about the use of the word modern, and I'd like you to expand on that. There's some more adjectives, some more to expand on it and define it.
So many times when people talk about pitches, they think about sales. And for many of the groups that I talk to, a lot of the people believe that sales is the only 4-letter word with 5 letters. So I try to be real careful about my choice of words. And if you listen to the way that I speak and communicate, you probably can feel that I have a background in sales. So I'm sort of guilty of that, guilty as charged. I am a leopard with that color of spot, if you will. But I've also run marketing departments and that kind of thing. So I try to be, and the reason I choose the word modern is so that people understand that this is not some old school sales presentation. This is not about what's in it for me. If you think about it, what's in it for me is yesterday's news. If you think that customers and clients are wondering what's in it for me, you're making a mistake. They want to know why. They want to know why you, why this, why now. And if you're talking about why, you're having a more modern, there it is again, conversation. Think about it. Let's say I want to join a gym. I go into the gym, and I sign up, and I go, what's in it for me? And the guy behind the counter goes, well, what's in it for you? Okay, you're going to have to sweat it out. You're going to have to stop eating dessert if you really want to see some real results. You need to get in here and hit the gym or hit the pool at 5 a.m. in the morning if you really want to see some progress. So what's in it for you is a lot of pain and suffering. Nice, okay. Let me change that just a second. Why should I join this gym? Oh, why? So that you can lose weight, your clothes will fit better, you'll have more energy, you play with your kids, maybe your grandkids, you live longer. That's compelling. Why is more powerful? So that's just a quick example of a modern context. I'm sure I've answered the question 3 times for you. I know you shook hands with that guy.
Mr. Riggs, what are some resources that you would recommend for learning how to write more journalistic style or narrative?
I never had a writing course in my life. I got a degree in architecture. I think you have to just sit down and do it, and just start trying to do it. It's hard sitting down. It does help to read great writing. Go read the classics. I mean, it does help you start to expose yourself to good writing. I mean, I really think there's an osmosis there. But I don't know that I would sit down and try to read, here's where you put the, I do believe simple declarative sentences, active verbs, and I think the internet has really changed the story dynamic in that you have to think about that person in that chair, the voice of God, the authoritative voice of God, preaching at you. That doesn't work anymore, because we're all talking to each other, we're all telling each other stories. But you just have to get out there and start doing it. And it's hard work. I mean, it's trying when you'll sit and look at the typewriter and that sort of thing when you first start out. But you just got to go do it.
Other questions? Yes?
Robert, what do you think is the downfall of today's newscast?
Today's newscast. Well, the management was, I think if they had made the transmission and they were using a lot of the tools that you have here and got out of the, for instance, I was doing some consulting with one of the news organizations and I told them, I said, you need to shut down the studio and, hey, start going out to meetups. How about the newscast at a meetup? And an executive said, what the hell is a meetup? What are you talking about? I mean, they're digitally illiterate. And they don't really kind of connect the dots anymore. I mean, Brian Clark has I believe, a bigger audience than the news websites in the city combined. Because the news guys really don't understand how to put in the context of the person. How's this helping? What's this? Why? What's this doing for them? How does that shooting in a part of the city, a drug shooting, how does that relate to my life? Why?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this week's session. Kind of long there, aren't they? Now make sure and come back and watch next week for another video from the Emerging Tech Conference. Now if you like what I'm doing, I'd ask you to consider dilldomains.com the next time you buy a domain name or website hosting. Now dilldomains.com is my GoDaddy reseller account, plain and simple. So if you like GoDaddy or you used to go using GoDaddy, please consider using dilldomains.com instead. In other words, buy your GoDaddy stuff through my reseller account. Well, that's all for today. So until next week, this is your host Gary Leland saying goodbye and thanks for watching. Hey, and don't forget to share our show with somebody. Thanks.